Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gann, alongside my partner, Jack Nicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. Now, the chance, go check out our website, justsayingfootball.com, as well as the Instagram, Just Saying, no GWJS for article and video updates. And don't forget us in your ears on Spotify at Just Saying Football, and get in our Discord for all of our bets at Just Saying Football as well. It's been a good couple weeks for us there. Buddy, week 15. Fantasy football playoffs pretty much secured. We both made it in some of our leagues. Congratulations to us both. Congratulations to everybody else out there. Sorry for everybody else that didn't. Big week for the playoffs for the NFL. How are you thinking about this week?
Yeah, this is a big week. We only got 4 more regular season games left. As you mentioned, the fantasy playoffs have started, so we are really just trying to be as sharp as possible with our picks as we go through this. This is a great week right now. No bye weeks. There are going to be no more bye weeks as we go through the rest of the season, which is a great transition. And, you know, we've even had some teams make the playoffs and get eliminated, Chauncey. Tell us about that.
Yeah, let's jump right into our news and notes. Lions, Eagles, Chiefs, Bills have all made the playoffs. Raiders, Browns, Jets, Titans, Patriots, Jaguars, and Giants have all been eliminated mathematically. Derek Carr injured. Now let's get into some of the other news and notes really quick. Derek Carr injured his non-throwing hand and is also in the concussion protocol. Aiden O'Connell suffered a bone bruise on his knee. Bucky Irvin suffered a back injury and it's considered tight, but there is a chance for him to play this week, so keep that in mind. Kenneth Walker III continues to deal with a calf injury. It was listed as an ankle injury. It's a calf injury. Isaac Guerrero, who had a great week for me in fantasy and a great week overall for 49ers fans, suffered a foot injury, but he could play Thursday. We'll have to see how the week goes, according to Kyle Shanahan. The most saddening news of the entire weekend was Jonathan Brooks, who tore his ACL again in the same knee. He's going to be out for the rest of the year, and honestly, I have a good feeling most of next year as well, suffering his second one already. George Pickens is dealing with a hamstring injury and is a long shot to play this weekend. Romeo Doubs is still in the concussion protocol, and Will Dissly is dealing with a shoulder injury and is unsure of his timetable to return is, according to the Harbaugh brother, which is brutal because he's been a good target for the Chargers and Justin Herbert. All right, let's keep this moving along into our blowout category. The Kansas City Chiefs making their way to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Kansas City's favored this by -6.5, over under here at 43.5. The Chiefs found a way to win once again. It seems like it happens every single week, and it's some bullshit. But they did it this week, and what are your thoughts going into this one?
Yeah, man, they just keep winning close games. I'm pretty sure out of the 13 games they've played, they have to at least have 8 one-possession wins. You have to think if some of these games were flipped, really where this team would be. Luckily, they get a 3-10 Browns team on the road. They're favored by 6.5, so it's going to be implied that they win this game by a good amount. You just got to give a shout-out to Jerry Jeudy on the Browns. 33 catches in the last 5 games. Definitely a great guy to have in fantasy. Great spot start for the playoffs. For Kansas City, though, you know, DeAndre Hopkins, also a good stream. He continues to score touchdowns.
Yeah, I got him in a fantasy league. He's actually been a great pickup for me, a great addition for me. Very happy with it at the moment. I'm locking in the Chiefs on this one. I just think that the Browns, while they're exciting, you got to go with what the Chiefs have been able to do. They're finding ways to win, whether it's the rest, whether it's field goals, whether it's touchdowns, regardless. So I'll keep going with that. It's them to lose the number 1 seed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's see what happens. I'm locking them in. Keep this moving along. Washington Commanders making their way to New Orleans, take on the Saints. Washington's favored this by -4.5, over under here of 43. No Derek Carr is going to be in this one. I got to lock in the Commanders in this one. They're coming off the bye. They're going to get fully healthy. I just think this offense has been playing electric. Saints won't be able to keep up. No Derek Carr.
Yeah, no Derek Carr. They've been dealing with injuries all season, like you said, and now you got this Commanders team who is in the fight. You know, now they're 3 games behind the Eagles. They're going to try to have to shoot for a wild card spot here at 8-5. So I'm expecting a big week from Brian Robinson, Terry McLaurin. They got to keep this train rolling in D.C. Easy win for them against the Saints. The Saints they've been dealing with too much adversity this year for me to be confident about them this weekend.
Yep, couldn't agree with you more. Keep this moving along. Baltimore Ravens make their way to New York, take on the Giants. Baltimore's favored this one by -14.5, over under here at 43.5. I gotta be honest with you, bud. I think it's gonna be Baltimore again. Another team coming off the bye. You know they're gonna rely on Derrick Henry. It's gonna be the ground game. There's no Sexy Dexy. He's out for the year with that injury. It's been a rough one for the Giants fans. At this point, you just want that top 3 pick.
Yeah, the worst offense in football, the Giants, 14.9 points a game. Not what you wanted to see going into the season. 2-11 record. Baltimore favored 14.5. I would just stay away from this game outside of Derrick Henry, who's probably going to go for 150 against this team without Dexter Lawrence, as you mentioned, him being out. But I think it's also a sneaky game for Lamar through the air. He's definitely going to have to get that part of the game going right now, as their offense just hasn't had a good passing defense opportunity to make it work the last few weeks. So give me the Ravens, and my poor Giants will go to 2-12.
It happens. I'm so sorry, but all right, let's move this right along. Cincinnati Bengals making their way to Tennessee to take on the Titans. Cincinnati saving this by -5 with an over-under here of 48. The Titans couldn't get the win last week after what felt like it should have been a win, but the injury to Will Levis in the game was rough.
Yeah, definitely rough. But it's been rougher over in Cincinnati when you got Jamar Chase having 14 catches in a game, and then you still losing multiple touchdowns. I mean, you win that game. Sorry, you win that game, but just losing these games over and over. They got a really close one last night against a bad team. Cincinnati, they're favored by 5, so it's kind of can they win this by a field goal? Can they win this with Chase Brown? I think that he has a big game. He had an amazing run the other day, so give me the Bengals on the road here. But Joe Burrow, continues to lead the league in passing yards. Jamar continues to lead the league in receiving yards. It's they're just going to have to do everything they can. They can't lose a game the rest of the season.
Yep, I'm going to lock in the Bengals as well. This offense just playing great. You mentioned all the key guys. You said it best. Titans just don't have it this year. We're seeing what's happening without Derrick Henry and everything else. Moving this right along, Monday Night Football, Chicago Bears making their way to Minnesota to take on my Vikings. Minnesota saving this one -7 with the over-under here of 43.5. Everybody in Minnesota went off. Jordan Addison, Sam Darnold, Justin Jefferson. Can they do that again against the Bears?
I think it's hard to ask Sam Darnold to have another 5-touchdown game after his first career one, but we were sitting on the couch last weekend. You were texting me, you're like, Addison already has 2 touchdowns. Then he has the right on the goal line, and then he gets the third one. So you got to give a shout out to how he's playing. They're getting everybody involved, and Justin Jefferson now. Justin said it's either me or everybody getting involved. Now they've made everything click. I think it's going to be dangerous for the rest of the league. They played. I know you were saying, Sean, it's a little nerve-wracking going down with the Chicago Bears that you just played 3 weeks ago in overtime. But I think they're going to get it all done right here. You're in prime time. This is a great time to show people that people just aren't talking about the Vikings enough.
Yeah, let's see if they can not give up 17 points in the fourth quarter against the Bears this time around. We did have quite the substantial lead. The Vikings should win this game. They've been playing electric. If they win, they're in the playoffs. They secure that spot. So you're playing for a lot this weekend. It's a divisional game. I know that the Bears are not great. They had 4 total offensive yards in the first half last week. But these are just this is still a divisional game. It will be tough, I think, at times. We did see Caleb Williams have his best game of the year last couple weeks ago against the Vikings. So it's time to lock down. We've seen them allow 260-plus passing yards in 6 of the last 8 games, and only 2 300-yard games the last 3 weeks. And look, Kirk Cousins had 2 interceptions, but he threw for a lot of yards.
Yeah.
So see if he can slow that down. But I do expect to win. Moving this right along into our mech category, New York Jets making their way to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. Jets favoring this by -3 with an over-under here of 39.5. I got to lock in the Jets, man. I just don't think that the Jags play well without Trevor Lawrence or with Trevor Lawrence. I do think that the Jets can win this. We saw a decent game from Aaron Rodgers last week. You can build on that.
You definitely can, and they've been trying to the last couple weeks, but it's a little late at the 3-10 record. Adams 3 touchdowns over the last 5 games. He has 5 catches in all those games. Garrett Wilson has kind of disappeared. Same with Breece Hall. So it looks like it's just the Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams show in New York. Nothing too great. Mac Jones got the Jaguars a win, but again, we talked about how bad the Titans are. But Jacksonville is worse than the Jets. In this matchup, I'm going to take the Jets with you. I'm going to ride that.
Yep. All right, let's keep this moving along. Dallas Cowboys making their way to Carolina to take on the Panthers. Panthers are actually favored by -1 with an over-under here of 42.5. How are you thinking about this one?
Man, I mean, this is another game. Oh God, you got 2 teams with a losing record, and that's the point we're at in the season with these mega games, where you have 2 teams that aren't really playing too much, but for the players to really kind of prove they're going to be on the team next season. I think Carolina has a lot of fire in their heart right now. Bryce Young, he has an 82.1 passer rating over the last 5 games, 1,000 yards, only 2 interceptions over the last 5 games, and 5 touchdowns. So I think that, things are going right for him. The Cowboys are just finding new ways to lose games. So I'll take the Panthers while they're favored, which I don't know when the next time we're going to get that.
Yep, I'm going to also lock in the Panthers. They've been playing really well. It hasn't necessarily been like the best of what you want to see from a number 1 overall pick in Bryce Young, but I think that what we've seen is growth, and that's all you can really ask for at the moment. So I'm going to go ahead and lock them in this one. I do think this is just a chance they can definitely win this game. The Cowboys have struggled defensively. We saw Micah Parsons visibly get frustrated on the sideline last week. Yeah. I do think this is the game for Carolina. Moving this right along, New England Patriots making their way to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Cardinals are favored this by -6.5, over under here of 45.5. Patriots, Drake May, I think you can build on.
Yeah.
But,
Who else you building on? On the Patriots right now.
Dude, KJ Osborne.
I think they parted ways today.
Oh, you're right.
So, nobody but Drake May. And
all right.
What about the Cardinals, though?
Well, look, I think the Cardinals got a lot going on for them. I do think that got to get Trey McBride in the end zone. Yeah. Let's see them get another pass catcher, but I'll take them in this one. I think they get to 500. They dropped 3 straight. That Vikings game was brutal. That was 2 terrible interceptions. Then last week was even more rough against a divisional opponent. This is a very winnable game. You should be able to beat the Patriots.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is a great game for, like you said, Trey McBride, but also to get Marvin Harrison going. They really need to get that connection with Kyler down. We haven't really seen many boom games from James Conner, so hopefully the Cardinals can get out ahead and get him a big game because they are going to need to be at 500 at the end of this game, and they cannot fall to 6-8. They got to go 7-7 here.
Yep, can't agree with you more. Okay, moving this right along. Indianapolis Colts making their way to Denver to take on the Broncos. Broncos are favored in this by -4.5. Over under here of 43.5. I'm locking in the Broncos. Defense is really great. Bo Nix is going to have a bounce back week, I think, against a very easy Colts defense. The Broncos are coming off the bye. They've gotten a lot of time to get ready for this team to get back and healthy. They got to stay in this fight for their division because right now 3 AFC teams can make the playoffs. You got the Chiefs, you got the Chargers, and you got the Broncos. You're fighting for this playoff spot. This is a very, very beatable team in the Indianapolis Colts. I'm locking in the Broncos. This is where their great defense shows why they're so great.
Yeah, and I think Indianapolis, they're fighting at 6-7 right now for that win, but it's hard to come off the bye like the Broncos are, especially, the Colts. They're both coming off the bye, so one of these teams is not going to look as they should. And I think that, like you mentioned, the Broncos defense, it could really affect Jonathan Taylor, and we're kind of hoping to see that here. I think this will be a pretty close game going down to it. The Colts are great runners, and Denver has a great passing game, so we have to see how that matches up. But I'll take Denver at home. They are not a team that you want to play right now. If I was going into the playoffs, they're just not a team that I'd want to have my first-round matchup against.
Yep. I wouldn't want to face him either. Bo Nix looks like he's, we talked about last week, believers. He looks legit. Moving this along, Atlanta Falcons make their way to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. Atlanta's favored by -4.5, over on here at 43.5, and it does feel like this is just the game that they needed to finally notch a win because Kirk Cousins hasn't thrown a touchdown in 5 games. He's thrown 6 in the last 2. 6 interceptions in the last 2 games. It's just not pretty for Atlanta.
Yeah, it may almost be Michael Penix's time there, but, you as a Vikings fan had to be happy that you got the win, especially a Vikings fan that has been vocal about Kirk Cousins. But, yeah, like you said, the mistakes are huge for him. The Raiders are kind of a defense it's easy not to make mistakes against. So I will take, Drake London has not been where he needs. I think he needs to get a big play going. Where's Kyle Pitts again? And I think that, it's just going to run through Bijan this game. Give me the Falcons as an easy pick this week.
Yeah, I'll also take the Falcons. I just, no Aiden O'Connell, no Gardner Minshew in this one. I just, this is the Falcons' game to lose. If they lose this game, pack up the season. That's it. Put in Michael Penix. It is what it is. Moving this along into our games of the week. Thursday night football action here. Los Angeles Rams make their way to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. 49ers favor this by -2.5. Over under here, 48.5. The running back room for the 49ers just takes hit after hit after hit, and it just seems like the Rams duo of Puka and Cooper cannot be stopped.
Yeah, and last week they both scored. They both had big games, but then you got Kyron Williams still scoring 2 touchdowns. You got 44 points on a Bills defense that was looking pretty good before this Sunday. And now you have the San Francisco 49ers where they're going to be pretty forced to pass. We've seen Debo at a minimal amount of involvement this year. He loves division games, so hopefully he can have a big game here. I'm expecting one from him. This is an interesting matchup. You got a short week, 2 divisional opponents, and if the LA wins, they get a 2-game lead. If they lose, San Francisco ties it with them. So this is going to really affect our playoff ripple effect of how people are seeded, and it's going to be a great game. Give me a big Cooper Kupp touchdown every week. He's amazing, and make sure you're starting people from each of these teams in your lineup.
Yep, couldn't agree with you more. I'm going to lock in the Rams. I think it's just this offense has been playing great. We saw them go to the wire with the Bills in the game that the defense should have made a few more plays here and there, but it was tough. This will be a very different game up against Brock Purdy. He's not going to run the way that Josh Allen can run against you, so don't worry there, LA. But I do think it's just they're playing electric. They've been here before. This is a chance to not only beat your divisional opponent, but bury them out of the playoffs and be you're not going to make it at all. Back off. So I think this is a game that you're playing for a lot. This is a short week for both these teams. It's been a banged up season for them. I do expect Debo to get a little bit more involved in this one, but I'm liking the Rams in this one. Everything that Sean McVay and this offense is doing is exactly what you want to see. Moving this right along, Miami Dolphins make their way to Houston to take on the Texans. Texans favor this by -2.5. Over under here of 47. Texans are coming off of the bye. The Dolphins got a huge overtime win up against the Jets. Now I had started Jonnu Smith. He had 0 points, and then that OT, we got all the way to 13.5. So he's a living legend. We love him. I thought he was 35, dude. I had him pegged for really old. He's 28.
Oh, he's in his tight end peak right now. Jonnu Smith.
He's gonna get that bag soon. So just wanted to throw that out there. If I think he's only on a 1-year deal currently with the Dolphins.
Any team looking for a baller tight end out there, Sean's got references.
I got you right now for Jonnu Smith. What are your thoughts going into this game? Can the Houston Texans slow down the Miami Dolphins high-powered offense?
Yeah, I think that they can. I think that the Texans have a great pass rush right where the Dolphins are kind of weakest. I think that the Texans, this is a game that they're going to need to win here. They are in control of their division. They're going to need to beat Miami. Miami has not played great on the road or outside of their division this year, and the Texans are coming off a bye. So even though Miami kind of has a little more, they had a tough game down to the wire. I think they're a little beat up. So I would take the Texans, but it's going to be a tight game. This I feel like will definitely be a very offensive game. I think 47 is perfect for that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. He is actually on a 2-year deal, by the way, Jonnu Smith. So they him for 1 more year, Miami. So good on them. Maybe they'll extend him. Who knows? But I like the Texans in this one. They had the opportunity. They're coming off the bye, so they had the opportunity to really get to know the Dolphins team. Like you just mentioned, they're a little bit beat up. They played the OT game last week. Took a while for that offense to get going. They can't afford a slow start. For them to make the playoffs, they got to win out. That loss against the Packers was rough. So they still are on that path to win every single game. But the Texans right now hasn't been the season that we've expected from them. I do expect them to start to get it right now. You got the bye late in the season. Now is your chance to they'll have an opportunity potentially to still host a playoff game. I'm liking them for this one. They're playing for a lot right now. Yeah. Moving this right along, Buffalo Bills making their way to Detroit. Lions are favoring this one by -1.5. Over under here 54.5. Now this feels like it could be a Super Bowl matchup, but after last week's game against the Rams, how are you feeling about those Bills?
Man, I mean the Bills, they're definitely going to be on a revenge tour this weekend. But I will say I'm going to take Detroit at home. But I don't love it because I love what the Bills were able to do last week. Josh Allen, 6 touchdowns. If you started him in fantasy, 51 points. Khalil Shakir having a game, 19 points. So you're looking at it they can get into these high matchups, and when you're looking at a 54.5, it's pretty insane how you can see this, because these teams, they have decent defenses, but they have the best offenses in the NFL. Definitely, like you said, a potential Super Bowl matchup. If you are going into your fantasy championship, fantasy first round for playoffs this weekend, you are starting every single person you have on these teams, because this is the biggest, like a huge matchup this weekend. And I mean, you're talking about, one's in the AFC, one's in the NFC. They're both clinched. I mean, they're just trying to prove dominance right now, and I love that.
Yep, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm locking in the Lions, and this is a high-scoring game. You're starting everybody in this game that you can. Your James Cook, your Josh Allens, your Jared Goffs, your Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomerys, etc., Amon-Ra St. Brown. Pick a guy that you want to start. You're starting them in this one. I do like the Lions. We've seen them win these high-scoring games. We've seen them being able to come to when they got to make a play to just crack down on the team, make the 4th and 1. Even if your quarterback's falling over, handing off the ball, all these different kinds of plays. It's a tough week for the Bills last week. I do think the Lions are going to have their hands full with Josh Allen. But I do like them to win this game. They got the home crowd behind them. And I'll definitely take the over at 54.5, which is a little bit surprising considering how many points it is.
Yeah.
But these teams can easily both score 4 touchdowns in 40. And each
score
the 40 points each.
The half looks big for the Rams-Bills, and they had 70 points in that game. This is the point in the season where people are going.
Dude, they had 86 points. It was 44-42.
6 points.
So you're definitely taking the over on this game, I think, without question. Also, get on our bets page for these exact reasons. Yeah. All right, move this right along. Tampa Bay Buccaneers make their way to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. Chargers favorites by -3 with an over-under here of 46.5. Chargers couldn't catch a break at the end of that game. Justin Herbert, a little bit banged up there with the leg. Will Disley also banged up with the shoulder. Do you think they can overcome these injuries to get the win?
Yeah, so it could be tough. The Chargers are in a big spot here. The Tampa Bay Bucks obviously coming off a big game in a favorable matchup last week. We got to see. I want to pick LA here just because they're at home. Tampa's got to travel a lot. LA's favored right now. I'm kind of taking the easy way out, but this could be a better matchup than we think. Justin Herbert and Baker Mayfield have both surprised us in their offenses that have dealt with injuries this year. So, just for fun, I'll take my guy Justin Herbert at home. I think that if Gus Edwards can't get it done with his legs, Justin will.
I like that. For me, I'm a little bit worried about how banged up he is. I do think this Chargers defense is going to be the potential that could make the game changer. And what we've seen from Baker Mayfield is that even in the win last week against the Raiders, still 2 interceptions. This guy's a gunslinger. You know what I mean? So he's going to throw that ball into the windows that maybe you don't try to throw it into, but not necessarily the way that Jameis Winston does when he's 30 for 30 in a season. So it's not anything like that. But I do like the Buccaneers in this one. I think that they're the better overall team. They're going into the depth right now with their running backs a little bit, some of the 49ers, but Rashad White was able to step up last week once again with the injury to Bucky Irvin, so I'll take them in this one on the road. Moving this right along, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers making their way to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Philadelphia said this by -4.5 with an over-under here of, I'll find that for you guys, but what are your thoughts going into this one? It's the Battle of the Keystone State.
Yeah, so the over-under right now, sorry about that, is 42. We got, some great, absolutely fantastic offenses in this. Russell Wilson, Jalen Hurts. Since 2008, these teams have played 5 times only, which is shocking since they've been in the same state. But they have flipped matchups back and forth this whole time. Philly's 3-2 over their last 5 matchups with them. I think it's time that Pittsburgh gets their matchup. I always say Mike Tomlin, when people are making him as an underdog, he reads the paper that morning. He's like, it's time to go. Philly has 2 losses. I think it's about time for them to get a third. But I will say, the only reason is the Steelers have been great on defense, and the Eagles have the 31st passing offense right now, which does shock me. I know they have Saquon Barkley, so I'm weary of picking them. I wouldn't be shocked, but this will be a major underdog pick this week.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Eagles here. I just think that the method is run with Saquon. It's been working. Yeah. Kel Moore came out this week, did say he's going to try to get A.J. Brown more involved. I do expect that to happen, but it will be tough against a Steelers defense that is pretty good. Although we have seen them have a few games here and there where they drop a lot of yards. There's a potential for them to get right, especially if they're able to utilize the play action. The Eagles are at home. I can't deny the Philly crowd and what they've been able to do this season, so I do think this is a win for them. If the Steelers lose this, it's really not that bad of a game to lose. There's a potential also maybe to be a Super Bowl depending on how things play out. Question mark, maybe? Probably not. But
Pennsylvania Super Bowl, break the internet, break the world.
it's what they've all been wanting for years, is an Eagles-Steelers Super Bowl. But I like the Eagles in this one. All right, moving this right along, Sunday Night Football matchup in our last game of the week. Green Bay Packers making their way to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Green Bay saving this by -2.5, over-under here of 47. The Packers can't be stopped. Josh Jacobs looks great. He's your guy. What are your thoughts going into this one? Can they beat Seattle in the 12-man?
I think that they can, and I know that you've been preaching how hard it is to play at the Packers all year, but it is hard to play in Seattle as well. However, the Packers have played decently well in the past, here. So I think that this is going to be a very close matchup. But, Zach Charbonnet last week for the Seahawks, man, he has 3 starts this year, 27 fantasy points a game. I think that's just unbelievable. You got Jackson Smith and Jigba top 10. You're starting everybody in this game as well for fantasy football. Maybe if Kenneth Walker's still dealing with that injury, maybe not if you got a better running back. But yeah, Packers 9-4 on the road. Jordan Love, I think, can go all off on this Seattle defense.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think nobody wants to play the Packers in the playoffs. They're still one of those teams that can beat you because they do have a good defense. They do have a good offense.
Like the Broncos.
They could play. Yeah, they got a great run game. They got a great passing offense. We see them be able to utilize pretty much everybody. It'll be interesting to see what happens once Romeo Doubs gets back in the mist from his concussion as well. Yeah. So there's a lot for this team to still get going. I like them in this one. I think they're going to be able to get the road win, and I don't think that the NFC West drama ends this week because the Seahawks win. I think it's going to continue. Yep, and I'm excited to watch it as it unwinds. But I do like the Packers to this one. I think that they're going to fill into this drama, which I'm looking forward to. But you're absolutely right. Zach Charbonnet's been having a great one. I'd love to see some more Jackson Smith and Jigba as we've been seeing all season. We had high expectations for him last year, and year 2, he's been thriving and surviving and killing it. But that's all the time that we have. Thank you, everyone for tuning in. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We're getting down to the end of it right now.
Yeah.
It's almost playoffs.
Week 15, baby. I love it. But thank you guys always for watching Just Saying Football. Just Saying Football on YouTube, Spotify. Make sure to get us in your ears. Make sure to get into Discord. Just Saying with no G, WJS on Instagram. Just Saying Bets on Instagram. Thank you guys all for checking us out.
Enjoy.